Sega Rally Championship on the Sega Saturn. What a game this is. So this is now like the third video I've done part of my Sega Saturn series, or my Who Remembers Sega Saturn series games, which is kind of just like a blast from the past. Just games I'm going back to now as I'm a little bit older, and I just really started to appreciate the Sega Saturn a lot more. Now this game was released in 1994 as part of the Sega Model 2 board, or like an arcade game, and it was ported to Sega Saturn in 1995 and also Windows in 1997. But my main experience with this game is sort of the Sega Saturn. I used to have this when I was younger. I managed to pick up a copy of it again now, and going back to it is such a fun racing game. Now at the time, this game, when it first came out in arcades and then later, like I said, on the Sega Saturn, made this big thing about the driving mechanics. Now I think this was one of the first ever games that the driving mechanics, like how your car handles, changed depending on the surface you were driving on. So if you drove on like the road, you were a lot quicker, a lot more responsive, and if you drove on mud, it was a lot harder to turn and you were a lot sludgier and slower. So it really sort of like changed depending on the sort of the area that you drive in. Now the game itself, the gameplay is pretty straightforward. It's your standard racing game. It reminds me a lot of the Outrun games, but I don't know if that's just me. It's because you kind of continuously drive in a straight line and you just overtake like other drivers as you go along. And the game can be quite hard, like it is quite strict on them times. There is not much room for error. Thankfully you've got the guy calling out for you and telling you where sort of like the next turnings are, like you would in a normal rally game, but the time limits that you have are pretty harsh. Like one small mistake and yeah, you're gone. But one of the things I absolutely love about this game, and I love this about a lot of the Sega Saturn games, especially like the old 3D Sega Saturn games, the graphics just look so good. They have this like really unique quality, especially for like retro games. It just screams like 90s, like 3D 90s, and on the Sega Saturn it just looks so crisp and like just look great. I feel like it's such an underappreciated console. Like this is just gameplay footage I recorded sort of straight out, and looking at it now and in sort of like as I'm putting the voiceover to it, I just think it looks really cool. Like all the effects, the mud coming off the back of the car. This was 1995. This game is crazy. All the stuff that has in it. Even like you can't really hear it that well, but the voiceover works quite spot on as well from the actual in-game actors. But yeah, who else remembers the Sega Rally Championship? Please comment below, start a conversation about this game. I will talk about this game to anyone. I'd love to hear any experiences you had of this. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.